Have you ever had this happen? You get 8 hours of sleep, you wake up in the morning, and somehow you still feel like you could sleep for another few hours. You make coffee, you check your phone, you start your day, but it's only 10 in the morning, and your brain already feels tired. Then you start wondering, why do I feel this way? Maybe I need more sleep. Maybe I need another cup of coffee. Or maybe I'm just too busy. But what if the problem isn't only how much you sleep? What if some of the small habits you repeat every day are quietly exhausting your brain? Think about your typical morning. You open your eyes, and the first thing you reach for is your phone. One message, one notification, an Instagram post, an email, a news headline, a short video. And before you even get out of bed, your brain has already processed dozens of different pieces of information. Then comes breakfast, work, hours of sitting, jumping from one task to another, constant notifications. And whenever you feel tired, you reach for caffeine. Then at night, you take your phone to bed, telling yourself that scrolling will help you relax. But instead of giving your brain a chance to recover, you're asking it to process even more information. So today, let's talk about 7 everyday habits that may be quietly draining your mental energy. And the interesting part is, most of these habits don't feel exhausting while you're doing them. That's exactly why they can be so difficult to notice. Habit 1, checking your phone the moment you wake up. Here's a question. What is the very first thing your brain receives in the morning? Sunlight? Silence? A few peaceful moments? Or notifications? For millions of people, the day begins with a screen, a message, an Instagram notification, an email, a news update, a short video. And suddenly, your brain is processing 10 different things at once. But why does it feel so hard to stop? One reason is dopamine. Dopamine is involved in motivation, learning, reward, and anticipation. And when you don't know what the next notification will bring, your brain has a reason to keep checking. Maybe someone replied. Maybe someone liked your post. Maybe there's an important message. Maybe something interesting happened. That uncertainty can keep pulling you back to your phone. But there's another problem. Your brain doesn't love constantly switching between different types of information. Imagine you're reading an important book, and every 30 seconds, someone taps you on the shoulder. Each interruption only lasts a few seconds, but your attention still has to shift. And that constant switching can make your morning feel mentally crowded before your day has even started. So instead of waking up and immediately consuming information, give your brain a little quiet time. Open the curtains, get some natural light, drink some water, take a short walk, take a few deep breaths. And before checking your phone, try giving yourself just 10 or 20 minutes. You don't have to become a monk. You're simply giving your brain a quieter beginning. Because sometimes, the best way to start your day is to not fill it immediately. Habit 2, constantly switching between tasks. Now ask yourself, how many things are you trying to do at the same time? You're replying to an email while a YouTube video is playing. Your phone is buzzing with a message. You're thinking about dinner. And suddenly, you remember that yesterday's task still isn't finished. It feels productive. But is it actually productive? In psychology, this is often referred to as task switching. We usually aren't truly doing multiple complex tasks at the same time. Instead, we're rapidly moving our attention from one task to another. And every switch has a mental cost. Imagine you're working on an important presentation. Suddenly, a notification appears. You check the message, you reply, then you return to your presentation. But now your brain has to figure out, where was I? What was I thinking about? What was I going to write next? This can happen dozens of times throughout the day. And by the evening, you may not feel physically exhausted, but your brain feels completely drained. That's why a day filled with small interruptions can sometimes feel more tiring than several hours of focused work. So try something simple. One task at a time. Put your phone away. Close unnecessary tabs. Turn off non-essential notifications. And for a short period of time, focus on just one thing. 25 minutes, 30 minutes, even 15 minutes. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to stop making your brain repeatedly ask, what should I pay attention to now? Because when everything demands your attention, nothing truly gets. Habit 3. Sitting for too long. Here's a strange question. Can doing almost nothing actually make you feel more tired? Sometimes, yes. Modern life has made sitting incredibly easy. We sit in the car, we sit at work, we sit while eating, we sit while watching TV. And then we sit or lie down, while scrolling through our phones in bed. But our bodies are built for movement. Regular physical activity is beneficial for cardiovascular health, mood, sleep quality, and overall brain health. And that doesn't mean you need an intense workout every single day. Even simple walking can help. Think about what happens when you sit at your desk for 3 or 4 hours. Your shoulders become tense, your eyes feel heavy, your body feels stiff, and your mind can start to feel sluggish. Then you get up, you walk to the kitchen, you get a glass of water, you walk back, and suddenly, you feel a little more awake. Why? Because movement changes what your body and brain are doing. So instead of thinking, I need to work out for an hour, try thinking, I need to move more frequently throughout the day. Take a short walk. Stretch between tasks. Stand while you're on a phone call. Take the stairs when you can. Walk outside for a few minutes. Small movements repeated throughout the day can be much more practical than waiting for the perfect workout. Your body doesn't need punishment. It needs movement. Habit 4. Using caffeine. Every time you feel tired. Now let's talk about coffee. Coffee isn't necessarily the villain. In fact, caffeine can temporarily increase alertness and reduce the feeling of fatigue. The problem begins when caffeine becomes a replacement for recovery. You feel tired, so you drink coffee. You feel tired again, so you drink another cup. Then the afternoon energy crash arrives, and you reach for another one. But here's a question. What if you're borrowing energy from tomorrow? Caffeine works partly by blocking the effects of adenosine, a chemical messenger involved in sleep pressure and feelings of sleepiness. As the day goes on, adenosine builds up, and you naturally start feeling more tired. Caffeine can temporarily mask that signal, but it doesn't erase your body's need for sleep, and caffeine can remain in your system for several hours. So having it later in the day may affect sleep timing or sleep quality for some people. And then the cycle begins. You don't sleep well. You wake up tired. You drink more caffeine. Your sleep gets affected again. And the cycle continues. So instead of asking, how can I stay awake? Sometimes ask, why am I so tired? Use caffeine intentionally. Pay attention to when you drink it and how much you rely on it. And if you're constantly exhausted despite having enough opportunity to sleep, don't just keep increasing your caffeine. Your tiredness might be trying to tell you something else. Habit 5. Never giving your brain real rest. There's something we often misunderstand. Rest and entertainment are not always the same thing. You can watch videos for 2 hours and still feel mentally exhausted. Why? Because your brain is still processing information. One video, then another. One episode, then the next. One social media post, then another, then another. Your body may be relaxing, but your attention is still working. Real mental recovery sometimes requires low stimulation. Silence. Walking. Looking out the window. Taking a shower without your phone. Sitting somewhere peaceful. Doing something repetitive. Or simply being bored. And boredom may actually be more useful than we realize. Because when you're constantly stimulated, your brain never really gets a chance to settle. Think about what happens when you finally sit in a quiet room. At first, it can feel uncomfortable. Your hand automatically reaches for your phone. You want to watch something. You want to listen to something. You want to scroll. But if you stay with the silence for a little while, your thoughts can gradually begin to slow down. That's why small moments of quiet can be valuable throughout the day. You don't need an hour of meditation. Start with 5 minutes. Put your phone in another room. Sit outside. Look at the sky. Take a slow walk. And allow your mind to solve nothing. Because sometimes, your brain doesn't need more stimulation. It needs less. Habit 6. Keeping too many open loops in your mind. Have you ever been lying in bed and suddenly remembered, "Oh no, I still need to do that thing"? Send the email, buy groceries, pay the bill, call someone, finish the project, remember the appointment. And suddenly, your brain becomes one giant to-do list. This is where cognitive load becomes important. Our working memory has limited capacity. When you constantly hold unfinished tasks, decisions, worries, and responsibilities in your mind, your mental space becomes crowded. And then even simple things can start feeling difficult. You walk into a room and forget why you went there. You start one task and another thought interrupts you. You sit down to relax, but your mind is still working. So try something surprisingly simple. Get things out of your head. Write them down. Create a simple to-do list. When a thought comes up, capture it. You don't have to solve everything immediately. Just give your brain the signal. I don't need to remember this right now. It's written down. That's one reason planners, notes, calendars, and reminders can feel so relieving. They aren't just organization tools. They can also help reduce the amount of information your brain has to actively hold. Your brain is powerful, but it wasn't designed to be your permanent storage device. Habit 7. Sacrificing sleep for just one more thing. And now we come to the habit that connects many of the others. You tell yourself, "I'll go to sleep after I finish this." One more episode, one more video, one more email, one more conversation, one more scroll, and suddenly, it's midnight, then 1 in the morning, and your alarm is only a few hours away. But sleep isn't simply the time when your brain shuts down. Sleep is an active biological process. It plays an important role in memory, learning, emotional regulation, metabolism, and physical recovery. During sleep, the brain carries out important maintenance and information processing functions. So when you repeatedly cut your sleep short, you're not just spending less time in bed, you're giving your brain less time to recover. And that's where the cycle begins. When you're sleep deprived, concentration becomes harder. Decision-making can become more difficult. Your mood can be affected. Motivation can drop. Even simple tasks can feel overwhelming. Then you reach for caffeine. You move less. You crave quick stimulation. You become more irritable. And at night, your brain may be so stimulated that winding down becomes difficult. Then the cycle repeats. That's why protecting your sleep may be more powerful than another productivity hack. Create a simple evening boundary. Dim the lights. Reduce stimulating content. Try keeping your phone away from your bed. And keep your bedtime reasonably consistent. Give your brain a signal. The day is over. You don't need a perfect nighttime routine. You need a predictable one. The bigger question. Now let's take a step back. We've looked at 7 habits. Checking your phone the moment you wake up. Constant task switching. Sitting for too long. Using caffeine to override fatigue. Never giving your brain low stimulation moments. Carrying too many unfinished thoughts. And sacrificing sleep. But there's a deeper question behind all of this. Why do we keep doing things that make us tired? Because modern life rewards stimulation. More notifications, more content, more work, more productivity, more entertainment, more information. We're constantly encouraged to stay busy, as if being busy automatically means we're valuable. But busy and effective are not the same thing, and being stimulated is not the same as being energized. Sometimes your brain feels tired because it has simply been asked to process too much. Too many decisions, too many notifications, too many conversations, too many unfinished tasks, too much information, too little silence, too little movement, and too little sleep. So maybe the answer isn't always, how can I get more energy? Maybe the better question is, where is my energy going? A simple reset. You don't need to completely change your life tomorrow. Actually, trying to change everything at once can create even more mental exhaustion. Instead, start small. Tomorrow morning, don't check your phone immediately. Give yourself 15 quiet minutes. During the day, choose one task and complete it without interruptions. Every hour or so, get up and move. Notice when you're using caffeine and why. Give yourself a few minutes of low stimulation. Write down the thoughts that keep running through your mind. And tonight, protect your sleep, not because you need to become more productive, but because your brain deserves recovery. Final mindset shift. And maybe this is the most important message in the entire video. Feeling tired doesn't always mean you're lazy. Sometimes, your brain is simply overloaded. Sometimes you don't need more motivation. You need fewer distractions. Sometimes you don't need another cup of coffee. You need sleep. Sometimes you don't need another productivity system. You need to stop carrying everything inside your head. And sometimes, you don't need to do more. You need to give yourself permission to pause. So tonight, before you go to sleep, ask yourself one simple question. What drained my energy today? Was it your phone? Constant interruptions? Too much sitting? Too much caffeine? Too much information? Too many unfinished thoughts? Or maybe you simply didn't give your brain enough time to recover. You don't need to fix everything tonight. Just notice, because awareness is often the first step toward change. And tomorrow, instead of asking, how can I do more? Try asking, how can I protect my energy? Because a calmer brain doesn't necessarily do less. It simply knows what truly deserves its attention. And sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is give your mind the chance to finally breathe.